Hey, so I'm just kind of dashing this off really quick we uh, before I go off and do some writing. I got a lot of stuff that I need to do today, so I'm just going to do this quick one. So the initial thing that I felt was I decided to readjust some friendship between Stannis and Ned, because I think that Stannis would like Ned more than he likes Stannis. Stannis would like Ned a lot because they're very similar people, and Ned is kind of a fostering type where he actually is encouraging to people. And also, I kind of adjusted Stannis's bitterness and made him a tragic character and made it so that he feels responsible for a lot of the things within the rebellion, and also um, um, the is it just kind of a lot of the bad things that happen, even being unintentional. And I even slipped in a little bit where he's unintentionally responsible for Ned's death by what he does. So anyway, I mean, mainly it was just understanding that Stannis is just kind of a bitter person, but he's very attached. He would become very attached to somebody, somebody if they showed him actual encouragement. And also, he kind of just doesn't like Robert. He like there's an attitude of he already resents Robert, and I think that the circumstances that happen in this episode would make him resent Robert even more and really just despise him. And so that's my thought, at least. Anyway, let's get started.
In the video. If you enjoy deep dives into Harry Potter or Star Wars, check out our sister channels, Half-Blood Theorist and Dark Theorist. Links are in the description. Stannis and Robert look up at the Eyrie, wondering how the ancient Aarons had raised it. Storm's End, at least, was on the ground. Jon Arryn welcomes them warmly, ushering them to their rooms. Stannis stares at the ceiling, wishing he were anywhere but here. He hated Robert. Well, that wasn't fair. He hated being forced to spend time with his bullish and stupid older brother. This was going to be a very, very long few years. Jon Arryn does his best to make Stannis feel welcome, but Robert is Robert. Stannis would never like his brother. A few days later, a new face comes to the Eyrie. At first, Stannis is wary of the new arrival, but then he actually meets Ned Stark. Something about the other boy makes Stannis feel at ease. When Ned offers his hand, Robert and Ned become fast friends, and Stannis is initially resentful, until Ned deliberately has Robert include him in whatever they do. Ned advocates for him, and for the first time, Stannis feels like he has an actual friend. When he takes the Goshawk Godwing out and lets her fly, he's disappointed when she doesn't fly as high as Robert's thunder. When Robert teases him, Stannis slumps in disappointment. Seeing the older lad's dismay, Ned puts his hand on Stannis' shoulder.
What's bothering you, Stannis?
It's just, why won't she fly higher? I don't understand. I put all this work into nursing her to health, but she's not going above the trees.
Well, is the point to have her fly high, or to have her hunts? Let's see who has the most game by the end, and then we'll know whose bird is better.
Stannis pauses, then nods. At the end of the hunt, Proudwing has brought back 5 rabbits to Thunder's 3. Robert's eyebrows raise, but he makes no comment. Stannis grins and strokes Proudwing's feathers as the Goshawk preens.
How did you know?
My father's favorite bird is a goshawk. He has a similar hunting pattern to Proudwing. I'm honestly impressed that you trained one. My father talks about how much trouble training Winter was, and he was quite a bit older than you when he got the bird to follow his instructions. You shouldn't be disappointed just because it might not be as flashy as Thunder. So long as it gets the job done, that's what matters. Anyone can get a bird that flies high, but if you can get a good hunter, that's something you should hang on to.
Stannis slowly nods, taking in the lesson. At that moment, he determines that Ned would be his friend for life. The years roll by.
Yeah, so one of the things that is interesting, I touched on quite a bit in the Lyanna being hidden in Essos deal, but I actually saw a Reddit post talking about Goshawk patterns and in relation to Proudwing, and they actually kind of established that it was actually very informative because it actually recontextualizes that Goshawks are actually really difficult, and it makes Stannis actually cooler because they're really difficult to train. If he's training him as a teenager, that's really impressive. And he just didn't realize that the Goshawk's function is to fly low, and that they're actually really good hunting birds. And my thought was, Ned just tells him, "Hey, why not just let's try this. Why not just try it out, see who get it's a better bird." And just him actually like giving Proudwing a chance, like thinking of it in a different way. And I think just admittedly the bit about Rickard having a Goshawk is my own thought process with this, but I feel like it would it's not out of the realm of possibility that that he trained a Goshawk. So that was just my thought process behind that. And Proudwing also becomes a staple of Mr. Stannis' life rather than him discarding it, and it very much changes the trajectory of his life.
And Robert is betrothed to Ned's sister. Stannis feels disappointed since he thinks he and Ned are better suited to be brothers, but he didn't have any control over it. When his parents die in the shipwreck just outside Storm's End, Stannis writes to Ned telling him about how this is hurting him. Ned writes back expressing his condolences. Eventually, the tourney at Harrenhal comes, and Stannis is reunited with his friend. He also gets to meet Lyanna for the first time. As soon as Stannis sees the Northern girl, he is smitten with her, but when he remembers she's going to marry his brother, Stannis grows more resentful of Robert and stalks off to be alone with Proudwing. Lyanna sees the strange behavior and asks Ned if Stannis might be sick. Knowing his friend, Ned explains the rather rocky relationship between the two brothers and how Stannis feels more like he's overlooked. Feeling sympathy for the younger Baratheon brother, Lyanna follows him to the woods, where Proudwing is flying through the branches.
That's a good bird you got there. Did you train it yourself?
I did.
So, have you gotten anything good?
Not really.
Then what exactly is the point? And stop giving me short answers. It's not good manners.
I don't want to say, my lady. I just need to be alone with my hawk sometimes. I often feel like I and your brother are the only ones in this world who understand me.
Well, I'm going to be married after your brother. Ugh. So perhaps we could keep each other company. Is he really so promiscuous? It honestly worries me greatly that he won't be loyal. What can you tell me about him?
Stannis' ears perk up at that. Maybe they could be friends, like him and Ned. Lips quirking slightly. Stannis shifts his strategy. What do you want to know about him?
Well, what's he like to you?
He's a fucking ass and I hate him.
Oh, that's bad.
It's not enough for Robert to be taller than me, stronger than me. He has to make me feel small too. The only person who's ever made me feel tall was Ned.
Well, you're taller than me, and I'm not likely to grow anymore, except sideways.
Stannis snorts a laugh and Lyanna punches his arm affectionately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that I liked about this is just Stannis getting to have some friends, and he would just feel, oh, I hate Robert, because that's the thing. Like, yeah, a lot of people will say, like, yeah, he loved Robert, but it's like he does, but he hates it at the same time because he resents him because he feels like, why does he get what I don't? And he just would not like him. But I think that Lyanna actually would get along well with Stannis because Lyanna's actually got a very heavily developed sense of justice, which is similar to Stannis, and she would actually just try to be friends with him, and similar to how she did her best to be friends with Howell and Reed. And Stannis would just kind of let loose and say, I hate him. He's a dick. Because Robert is a little bit of a dick. And there were a lot of people that said, this is a Robert Baratheon hate piece. And it's like, no, it's just I'm using the Proudwing incident as an extrapolation of Stannis and Robert's relationship, where Robert tries to have fun with Stannis, but Stannis takes it as an insult because he's still a prickly asshole. And characters are allowed to be wrong about things. Because later on, he's going to say, think, Robert, if you'd just been a better person, this wouldn't have happened, which is technically not true, but it's what Stannis believes, and people are allowed to believe bad things, even incorrect things. So this one was an interesting one. But yeah, I just felt like Lyanna would be like kind of playful with him, which is kind of something Stannis needs. Like, he needs somebody to be playful with him.
I knew I could get you to laugh. I think you and me are going to be friends.
Yes, friends. I like that. When they walk back to camp, they find a group of squires wailing Howell Reed. Lyanna yells, "That's my father's man you're hitting," and waves.
There's also a lot of autistic coding in Stannis. Like, I have similar-ish similar things where if somebody like just says, "Hey, I want to be buddies," I feel very attached to that person, and it's very similar. So that's kind of what I felt like Stannis would be if somebody, especially if it's a cute girl like Lyanna, even if she's a little bit younger than him.
The tourney sword, Stannis sets Proudwing on them, then draws his own weapon and uses the flat to help Lyanna see them off. After they tend to Howland, Stannis notices Lyanna seems to be muttering the house names of the squires who had hurt the Grand Men. As the tournament progresses, the
little hint there.
Stannis can't help but feel the knight is familiar. When the knight on horses the knights of the squire who hurt Howland, then has them discipline the malefactors, his suspicion mounts. When he asks Lyanna about it later, she just shrugs and winks at him, saying, "Mayhaps it was me, mayhaps it wasn't." Stannis wants to say something, but without proof he can't. Besides, what was done was just and right. It made sense that the squires should be punished. At the feast, Stannis notices Ned and Ashara dancing and feels both sad and happy. Sad that he didn't have someone to care for him like that, but happy for his good friend. After the dance, Stannis walks with Ned back to the Stark camp, while the other lads talks about what it had been like to dance with the Lady of Starfall. Stannis finds himself catching some of his friend's excitement and grins slightly. The moment Lyanna is crowned, Stannis is just as shocked as everyone else and is silently wishing for Brendan or Robert to beat the piss out of the Silverhaired Prince. After the tournament, Stannis heads back to Storm's End to assume his post. When the Raven arrives, informing him of Rhaegar and Mad King's actions, Stannis readies Storm's End for siege and sends word to their bannermen to prepare for war. Robert arrives, and Stannis asks him for the state of their allies. "We've got a Vale, and Ned is going to battle the north. Right now, I need to beat our bannermen and likely meet the Witch in a battle." What about the Tullys? They've got a good army that could easily bar Ned's way. If the Tully gets a good marriage, he'll likely come to our side. And who is that likely to be? Probably Ned to the oldest. Captain, since... No, I'll marry her.
Robert stares at Stannis, blinking in surprise. Stannis draws himself up and folds his arms as he meets his brother's gaze.
Ned wants to be with Sharadane. My friend deserves to be with the right girl. And since if you win, you'll be king, being married to the next in line will be more attractive than the Lord of Winterfell. That is actually well thought out. But I need you here in Storm's End. And here I'll stay. But Ned will get what he's owed. Fine. I'll send a letter to Lord Worcester.
Stannis sighs and settles in for what is to come. When the Reach's army comes...
Yeah, so this is a big change. I felt that it would make sense that Stannis would kind of still feel a sense of right, but it'd be a different kind of right. He would say because honestly, like Catelyn, she's actually really attractive and much better than Selyse. I honestly don't know why he married Selyse East Florent. Because they're not very high-powered. It's kind of funny. But with this, he's like trying to be a bro to Ned and say, hey, no, you should be with the Sharadane. And since he loves her. And there's also him, because it's technically a good match, and and so Stannis is kind of just trying to do the right thing here. And even though it's very risky, he still does it. And then I wanted to have a little bit of a focus on the Storm's End siege, where we really dive into just how rough it is, as well as when Davos comes in to show how Stannis's interactions with Ned have changed him.
Over the horizon, Stannis settles in for the siege. A few times the enemy attacks, and Stannis holds the line. Stannis' Eastermount uncle and cousin-in-law die during the initial assault, and Donald Noy loses his arm defending Stannis from a Harley soldier. After it becomes clear the garrison will stand, the Reachmen pull back and attempt to starve them out. With no further battle fight, Stannis settles into the siege. He carefully rations the food and only eats as much as his men, but he makes sure to give some of his the Renly. What small morsels Proudwing brings in are distributed fairly among the garrison. The months drag on, and their food rapidly depletes. Often Stannis will think of Lyanna and the memory of the wolf girl who gave him strength and inspiration. Stannis is feeling the effects of malnourishment when Davos arrives with his ship full of supplies. After everyone has eaten, Stannis lets himself enjoy a few pieces of salted beef and potatoes.
Thank you, Captain Davos. I'm in your debt. Is there some reward, you ask? Beyond some gold for my troubles, I can't ask for anything more, my lord. That hardly seems fair reward for such courage and generosity. I need someone like you in my service. I would have united and given lands. You saved me and my brother. But I'm a smuggler. A good friend once told me that you don't reject or dismiss someone because they might not fit your ideal. You have skills, Captain Davos. Without you, every man here would die of starvation. Whatever crimes you committed by smuggling are washed away as far as I'm concerned. Will you pledge yourself to me?
Davos raises his eyebrows, then kneels. A few weeks later, Ned arrives and lifts the siege.
Yeah, so this is a very different Stannis, where he can take Stannis's stake Ned's advice and welcomes Davos in. He doesn't feel the need to mutilate him, aid him for a sense of justice. He just says, no, you've got to use, come on in. And this would even more endear Davos to Stannis and make him his right hand.
Stannis walks out to greet his friend, and Ned is shocked at Stannis' emaciated frame and receding hairline.
Stannis, I'm so sorry. I should have come sooner. I was delayed by the capital, and what happened there? I know, Ned.
A little funny thing that I decided to do with this one was Stannis. The idea that I had was that a neat little put it, that Stannis started losing his hair because of the malnourishment.
I trust you came as fast as you could. Did you find her? No, not yet. I'm going south to search, and I'm coming with you. She's my friend. I'll be glad for your help. Thank you, Stannis. For what? For making it so that I can marry Sharadane, not Captain Tully. You're a true friend. You're the only man who made me feel tall. It's the least I can do. Besides, she's a very beautiful lady, so I feel I'm getting just as much out of it.
Both Ned and Stannis share a chuckle, then head off to find Lyanna, but not before Stannis grabs some additional food from the Tyrells and distributes it to his garrison and himself. When they finally reach the Tower of Joy, Stannis needs the sword at his side in anticipation of a fight. Enjoying the story? You can listen to these on the go. Search Dark Theorist or Three-Eyed Theorist on your favorite podcast service. Links are in the description. Now, back to it. After they exchange words, the Kingsguard draw their weapons and attack. Stannis sticks next to William Dustin and a few others against Geralt Hightower. The two of them manage to score.
Yeah, with this, I was like, Stannis has got to be involved in this. I kind of want to do So I was just like, hey, no, Stannis is going after them and he's going to be there, and this is going to actually like really like fuel his character development when he gets there. And kind of looking at this fight, one of the things I want to make sure is that Stannis is not like a Gary Stew. He gets his kills through a little bit of dumb luck, but it's plausible dumb luck.
A few hits on the Lord Commander, only to have their numbers whittled down when Oswell went attacks. Will and Dustin manages to cut Oswell across the leg, allowing another Starkman to stab him through the neck, but not before Stannis suffers a cut to his thigh inside. Seeing his friend fall, the White Bull drives his sword through the Lord of Barrowtown. Stannis sees red and hurls himself at the White Bull. The older man's sword sticks in his previous victim, allowing Stannis to kill him before he can get his weapon free. When Stannis looks around, he sees Ned facing Arthur Dayne with Howland Reed trying to stab him, only to have the swords of Morning slash the Crane across the chest. With a lazy flick, Arthur disarms Ned, cutting a deep gash in his arm, then prepares to strike him down. Stannis couldn't allow his friend to be killed. Silently, he limps forward, clutching his arm, grabs Oswald's sword, then throws it at Arthur's leg. The Sword of Morning yells out in anguish, dropping to his knee and clutching the sword that was embedded in his thigh. Stannis hurries forward, but as he gets within reach, Arthur turns on him and slashes, stopping Dawn with his own body. The sword cuts into Howland, nearly cleaving in half. Arthur winces and tries to pull Dawn free, but Stannis drives his sword into his enemy's face. The Sword of Morning goes limp. Stannis drops to his side, staring at Howland's butchered corpse. It might have been only a little over a year, but Harrenhal already felt like a lifetime ago. Shaking with emotion, Stannis makes futile attempts to close Howland's injury, but it's too late. Ned stumbles to his feet, looking down at Arthur's body. Thank you, Stannis. I owe you my life. There's no debt between brothers, Ned. Let's go get her. Let's not make all their debts be for nothing. The two men enter the tower.
Yeah, so one of the things that I just wanted to do here is just have the have like him get wins by taking advantage of slight miscalculation. Like he's not like beating them with sheer skill. He's just having a more fortunate time with okay, 1 second. Yeah, so that was kind of the purpose that I wanted to do, where it's more of a drunken, kind of happy accident that he gets through it, and he still gets pretty beat up. Yeah, sorry I had to step away for a second and lost my train of thought. So, but now we have Stannis's turning point as a character, where he hits his breaking point.
And Stannis stares down at Lyanna's bed of blood. She shook and shivered as the two injured men knelt down on either side of her.
Ned, Stannis, you came. I'm glad you're here.
You're going to be all right. Well, we'll get you back.
You are a terrible liar, Stannis. I don't have much time, so I'll just tell you now. He didn't kidnap me.
What? Why? I thought...
It was everything I heard about him having a bastard in the Vale. And then after I talked with Stannis about Robert, I just couldn't be with him. I didn't want a man who would make me feel small.
Stannis' mind reels as he stares into the distance. He'd inadvertently caused the deaths of so many people. Brandon, Rickard, everyone who'd died during the rebellion, and worst of all, the girl who he'd been infatuated with, the girl who had offered to be his friend. All of them were dead because he couldn't just tell a white lie. Stannis closes his eyes and starts to cry. Leon.
Yep. So this is kind of the turning point for Stannis Baratheon's character, where he just is really broken up because of this really sad moment. And yeah, and kind of him talking to Lyanna ends up having a really bad ripple effect. It would have happened anyway, but he now feels like he's partially responsible. And that's just going to really do a number on the poor guy. And from there, we see him, we just see a different trajectory for Stannis.
Squeezes his hand.
You're a good friend, Stannis. I'll be waiting for you on the other side with a hug. Same with you, Ned. Can you both hold me?
Ned and Stannis hold the girl until she finally passes. Her last words, "Promise me, boys. Promise me you'll keep my son safe," echoing in both their minds. Both of them hold her body long after she dies, until finally Ned releases her and takes baby Jon in his arms. Ned encourages Stannis to let go of Lyanna, but Stannis keeps his hold, shaking and quivering. It's not fair. It's just not. Why did you have to die? All this suffering, and she dies anyway. I'm just as angry as you, Stannis. But we have to do what needs doing. Come on, let's go. We need to get Arthur's body back to Starfall. Yes, we do. I'll tell her that I killed him, which is true. You shouldn't lose your lady. I don't know if it could work. We have to try. You're my friend. I need to make sure at least something goes right. I promise nobody will know about her son. No harm will come to him while I live. If he ever needs anything, I'll just ask, and it's yours. When they arrive at Starfall, Stannis is the one to claim the death to Ashara, saying Ned hadn't had the heart to face her brother because of the love he had for her. When Ashara blinks and glances at Ned, conflict in her face, Stannis gets worried. Would it all be for nothing? My lady, please do not reject him on account of this. He's a good man, a loyal man, and as true a friend as anyone could ask for. He fought through this war to get back to you. If you would blame anyone, blame me. Please, I struck the fatal blow. He had no part in it. I will beg if I have to. And if not for me, help protect the boy that your brother died to defend by claiming him as yours and Ned's son. To punctuate, Stannis gets on one knee before the Lady of Starfall. Both Ned and Ashara stare at him. Then Ashara takes his hand and raises him to his feet.
You speak very well, Lord Stannis. I know Ned's heart now. If he can inspire such loyalty from one such as you, I will not say no, and I will help protect the boy.
Stannis sags in relief, then impulsively shakes her hands with quite a bit of awkwardness. Somewhat nonplussed, Ashara accepts the gesture. When they leave for King's Landing, they have Jon and Illyria Stark with them. All the way there, Stannis stews over what she'd said, how his comments had made her want to go with Rhaegar. It was his fault. No, this was all Robert's fault. Everything was Robert's fault. If he hadn't bullied Stannis and had kept it in his breeches, none of this would have happened. Stannis wouldn't have had to suffer in Storm's End, wouldn't have almost died against the Kingsguard, and she would still be alive. When they arrive at the capital, Stannis is appalled by the butchery before him. Why wasn't Lord Tywin being punished? This was unjust. This was evil. After Ned recounts the story to Robert what happened, omitting only Lyanna, the two friends are reconciled, allowing Ned.
Yeah, so with that one, I just had a bit of thinking about how would Stannis react. And so the thought that I had was Stannis, he still has a sense of right and justice, but he is trying to do right by his buddy, since Ned is his best friend. And I really, really wanted him to just say, "Hey, this is my buddy. Please just give him a shot." And Ishara would be like, "Oh, you're a good person," and kind of have some sympathy on him and say, "All right, that works," and be with Ned. So it ultimately ends up being tragic, but that's kind of the whole deal here. And I think that one of the things that Stannis would do in this situation is that he would feel utterly broken and would feel like, well, this was just utterly for nothing, and just feel like everything's bad. Why is this happening?
Heading to Ashara to depart for the north, Stannis remains silent, glaring at his brother with barely veiled loathing. After Ned leaves, Stannis stews in the Red Keep until Robert summons Stannis to command to build a fleet and attack Dragonstone. Grinding his teeth, Stannis does as he's bid. When the news of Robert and Cersei being betrothed reaches Stannis, he storms to the royal apartments and yells at his brother, "Tywin fucking Lannister, are you shitting me? What's got you so angry? Have you not seen what that man did to the city, and you reward him by joining our houses? We need his money. To rebuild what he destroyed, he should cover the costs himself. He'd kill the Targaryens. He got his hands dirty so he wouldn't. The Targaryens didn't do anything except for Aerys, and even then, all this is your fault." Stannis couldn't hold back anymore. This man, his brother, was the cause of all he'd suffered, and now he was going to replace Lyanna with Tywin Lannister's daughter. He was done being silent. "Everything I've been through, everything I've suffered, everyone who died, it's all because of you. Watch your tone, Stannis. Rhaegar took Lyanna. It's all because of him and Aerys. I just did what was necessary. She left with him willingly, you imbecile. Has it ever occurred to you that you are a complete ass, and that she would want to get away from you?" Robert stares at Stannis, eyes filled with pain. That made Stannis feel better. He wanted to hurt Robert. He wanted his brother to feel some measure of his suffering. "She died in a bed of blood. Her and a baby, his baby, that she carried willingly, and she wept when their son's corpse was handed to her. She left because you couldn't just wait to fuck the first woman you could get your prick into. She chose him over you." Robert's fist smashes into Stannis' gut, sending him rolling on the ground, gasping for air.
Yeah, so one of the things that I really wanted to do here was I wanted to have a really, really brutal and painful conversation between Mr. Stannis and Robert, because, and like a lot of people are like, why does Stannis hate Robert? Because it's like, well, for one thing, Stannis feels like Robert is the source of all of his suffering, and he already dislikes Robert. And like people were saying, this is a hate fiction. And it's like, no, I'm just doing this from Stannis' perspective. He vehemently dislikes Robert because he feels like he has been wronged by him. And the funny thing about it is Stannis would feel like there's like his world was rocked by it, and that if it wasn't for Robert, he would have had a better life, and that Lyanna wouldn't be dead. And Stannis is allowed to be a hypocrite like that, or at least like be wrong like that. That's kind of the point, is that like, people can be wrong and not be able to make the correct choices, shall we say, or at least not have the correct perspective on things.
Stannis stands up and spits blood from his mouth. Robert glares at him, fists clenched. Stannis doesn't care that his brother is bigger than him. He was too angry for that. All my life, you've made me suffer. All my life, you've treated me like I was small. Like you treat everyone. Because you know, King, you barely even a brother. Fuck you, Robert. You're nothing more than a pig in human skin. Get out before I kill you. Stannis spins at Robert's feet and stalks out. Robert slumps in his chair, trying to piece together the world that had been shattered. Stannis finds his way to the godswood and slumps down against a tree, staring at the wall. What was the point of any of this? What did any of this mean without her? Then the thought occurred to him. Her son's family was on Dragonstone. Maybe he could make up for not saving her by saving them. As if to punctuate his thoughts, he heard the familiar sound of thunder. After the storm is cleared, Stannis leads his fleet against Dragonstone. When he arrives, he finds the skeleton garrison laying down their swords. Stannis angrily demands where the Targaryens are, only to be told that the queen died giving birth, and Willem Darry had run off with the children. Stannis grips the hilt of his sword so tightly his knuckles turn white. So Davos, find them. Take whatever ships you can, but search the free cities until you find the Targaryen children. Make sure they're safe. I want no harm to come to them. Davos bows and starts gathering men while Stannis...
Yeah, so I desperately wanted Stannis to just trying his best and kind of failing a little bit in certain things and failing in a lot of important things. Because that's kind of one of the... I wanted to kind of have it be different from the other times he's successfully assaulted Dragonstone. Since it wasn't necessarily in the prompt, I was like, all right, they should get away. And then they that provides some interesting bits of plot later where he doesn't tell anybody, but it also ends up having some problems.
Writes a letter to send back to King's Landing, letting his brother know about what had happened. The response is simple. Go back to Storm's End. Don't return to King's Landing. I never want to see your face again. After tossing the letter into the fire.
Yeah, functionally this is Robert gave in kind of Robert fashion, he gave Storm's End or Dragonstone to Stannis, kind of since he's the heir, really. Stannis didn't see it that way. But with this, since he's quite pissed at him, he would be like, go away, I never want to see you again. Since he's forced... I didn't really focus much on Robert, since I was like, there's not really much story to tell here, so let's just have them let's say it. Let's just focus primarily on Stannis and not really leave his POV much.
Stannis boards a ship bound for Duskendale. He had a marriage to attend to. When Catelyn sees Stannis, she's surprised at how much he'd aged since the tourney at Harrenhal. Despite his slightly emaciated appearance, the new Lord of Storm's End is courteous to her. After they're married, Stannis brings his new wife to Storm's End and introduces her to Renly. The young lordling immediately takes to his sister-in-law, and Catelyn enjoys him paying her compliments. As she and Stannis live together, Catelyn notices that Stannis is often melancholy, spending a great deal of time watching Proudwing. Finally, she decides to approach him during one of his moments alone with Gothok.
Stannis, you seem withdrawn of late. I wanted to ask if something's troubling you.
Oh, Cat. Sorry.
Yeah, with this, it's just... let's kind of have the formation of the relationship between Stannis and Cat, where they've kind of both lost like the person that they wanted to be with, and now they are having to make their way in the world.
Sorry, I haven't had time to grieve, and now, well, that's what I'm doing. I shouldn't have been so selfish. You have your own grief as well.
Yes, losing Brendan was a hard blow. But who did you lose in the rebellion?
Lyanna Stark. She was a very good friend of mine. She was going to marry Robert, and the first thing she did at Harrenhal was treat me like a brother, just like Ned did.
Did you love her?
I didn't know her well enough. It wasn't really like what Robert felt, or how Ned described feeling about Charlotte Dane. She was kind and friendly and just, but the worst part of it is I feel partially responsible.
How? Rhaegar Targaryen kidnapped her. You couldn't have had anything to do with that.
I've always resented my brother. He often put me down, mocked me. Ned Stark made me feel tall, and Lyanna treated me like a friend. And when she asked me about Robert, I told her honestly that I hated him. That's why she ran away with the prince, and she died, along with Brendan and Rickard. My brother almost starved to death. One friend was nearly killed at the Tower of Joy, and the other died to save me, because I couldn't just lie and tell her my brother wasn't a complete ass. Stannis closes his eyes, feeling the weight of his failure bear down on him. Catelyn reaches out and takes his hand.
I'm sad too, Stannis. I'll miss Brendan for the rest of my life. I know you harbor a great deal of guilt, but it wasn't your fault. Lyanna would likely have run away anyway.
Then why can't I escape what I feel?
We've both loved and lost. We can't really replace what we've each lost, but perhaps we can be a strength to each other. I've seen your character, and I'm impressed by your fortitude and steadfastness. Do you feel the same about me?
I do, Cat. You're a lady with a great heart, and if you would be willing to give me a part of it, I'll give you mine, battered and scarred as it is. Catelyn smiles and takes his hand, which Stannis accepts. That evening, after they've cried for a child, Catelyn calls up to him. Stannis holds his wife close, feeling that same affection that he...
Yeah, I wanted to have this kind of moment of just human connection between these two characters, because I really, really wanted to really articulate just how sad Stannis is, because he would kind of have a little bit of scrupulosity about him, is how I think about him, because he is able to he sees that point when he didn't just lie to Lyanna as the crux point. Even if he is technically wrong, that's all right. Like, he can be wrong. That's the point. And he just thinks about that's just the way he thinks about these things. He's not actually, he's just putting it all on himself, even though it's technically not true. And he's going to have that really, really rough perspective on him.
Once had for Lyanna started to grow for the red-haired lady. A few months later, a girl with black hair named Lyanna is born. Stannis closes his eyes and rocks his daughter, happy that he finally has that connection. Smiling, Stannis puts his arm around Catelyn so they can both hold their child. Shortly after Lyanna's birth, Sir Davos returns from the Free Cities with no news of Daenerys and Viserys. Stannis rubs his eyes, thanking Davos for trying, and asks him to send out informants. They needed to find the children before Robert did. The years go by, and Stannis is called to the Greyjoy Rebellion after Paxter Redwyne defeats the Ironborn at Fair Isle. After Stannis and the rest of Robert's army smash the Ironborn, Stannis finds Ned and talks to him. How have you been, Ned? It's been a long time. How is the boy? Is he faring well? I want to know everything. Very well. He's a good lad, and his younger brother Rob seems to see him as a hero. Same with Arya and Valyria. Charlotte and I are very happy together at Winterfell. I'm glad her boy is happy and safe. I knew you would do right by him, like you did with me. I was curious, could I possibly have him warded with me in Storm's End? I want to see what became of the boy we saved. I trust only you to keep him safe, so I can agree to that. I'll talk to Sarah and we'll get things settled. Stannis smiles and clasps hands with his friends. When Jon arrived at Storm's End, Stannis is thrown back to when he met Ned in the Eyrie. The boy was almost a mirror image of his friend at that age. Jon blinks in surprise when Stannis warmly puts a hand on his shoulders. Welcome to Storm's End. The son of my friend will always be welcome here. Catelyn raises her eyebrows, surprised with the warmth from Stannis, but considering how much he talked about his admiration for Ned Stark, it made sense he would treat the boy well. Lyanna and Jon quickly grow to like each other and often spend time with the younger two children, Stefan and Grover. Lyanna does sometimes tease Jon about being slightly shorter than she was, which the boy takes in stride. Renly also spends time with the boys, treating them like younger brothers.
Yeah, I like the idea of Stannis saying, "Hey, I want to see her. I want to see something good." He's kind of he's gotten some measure of good, but he wants to see the results of his fruits of his labor, so to speak. And it was, I honestly just didn't really think that it would be super important to have a whole lot of interactions, mainly because I was thinking, hey, let's just make this a little bit easier on our BO and make it a lot easier. Especially since I was going to give us pretty hard ones later on that week. With Sarah marrying Ned, that one had a lot of voice change alignment, which took up a lot of time. So I was figuring, might as well give him an easier one.
A role they're only too happy to fall into. Jon and the others learn as much as they can from Stannis about tactics, leadership, and how to best encourage the talents of other people. As Stannis watches the two boys grow up together, he feels a strange sense of melancholy that Catelyn picks up immediately.
Stannis, I thought you were happy that Jon was here. You were so excited, more so than usual.
It's just, he looks so much like Ned. It brings back memories of the Vale, before everything in the rebellion. I'm all right, really.
Is there something that you want to tell me? I feel that there's something missing. You can trust me, Stannis. Please, have we not been partners for the past few years?
I want your word you will not tell anyone what I'm about to say. Jon is Lyanna's son. I swore that I would protect him, me and Ned together. Catelyn's eyes widen, then she glances between Jon and Lyanna Baratheon, a speculative expression on her face. Stannis rubs his eyes, but then snorts a laugh. Matchmaking already?
No, baby. Come on, Stannis. They would be so adorable together. Wouldn't you like little grandbabies running around?
I hadn't considered that, actually. That would be something.
Her son, your daughter. Seems like fate, don't you think?
If they want to, I won't stop them. He'll just have to get over the fact that he's going to be shorter than his wife. Catelyn covers a smile, then has to stifle a laugh with him when Lyanna jumps on Jon's back and demands he act as her horse. Jon manages to get a few feet before collapsing to the tall girl. Stannis takes a long breath, then...
Yeah, I just wanted to have that little bit of... I kind of like little in-jokes where Catelyn is like, doesn't dislike Jon. I had a similar one with the...